sometimes things don't go well. And it would be a whole heap nicer if it did go well, but they just don't. It's just one of those facts of life. And whenever you feel like things aren't going well and you decide to share this feeling with someone close to you, they might offer the words, "It's going to be okay." It is a very well-meaning platitude, but it completely depends, I find, on how I'm doing in that moment as to how it is received, because sometimes it can be so therapeutic to hear. It can be like, "Oh, you're right. I didn't feel that before, but now that I've heard somebody else telling me that it's going to be okay, you know, I believe it. It is going to be okay." And then sometimes you hear it and you think, "Oh, what? What? Did you not hear my story? Have you no concept of what is occurring right now?" It's one of those two extremes I find that I get stuck on a little bit. And I know it's very, very well intended. And in fact, I'm a big fan of the "it will be okay." I pull that out the bag all the time when in a situation where I don't really know what to say. In fact, just last week, I told a child at school that I promised things would be okay. I promised her. I don't have the authority to promise these things, but there I was, just trying to make that moment a better moment. So I'm not complaining. I completely appreciate it. But I will just add that in that situation where I promised that everything would be okay, it was okay. It did turn out to be okay. So, you know, maybe I control the future. Maybe. Certainly an avenue worth exploring. Anyway, it struck me that if we are really to believe that things will be okay, we need fact. We need cold, hard data. Meaningless platitudes are, okay, fine, yeah, okay, things will be okay. But is there anything concrete you can give me as to why things will be okay? And that is what this video is. This video is for me when I feel like things will be okay. It's for you when you feel like things won't be okay. And obviously, I don't know your specific circumstances. I don't mean to pretend that I do. I don't mean to patronize. This is merely a collection of thoughts put together in a video that aim to support the claim that it will be okay. Because it probably will. It probably will. Number one, just because things are difficult, it doesn't mean that they're not okay. It's so easy to fall into the trap of thinking that good things are easy things. But that's just not the way it works. It's often the case that it is the most traumatic times that teach us the lessons that really make us who we are. A really useful technique I find is that if I find myself wishing that things were a bit easier, I bring to mind someone in my life or people in my life. If you don't have someone in your life like this, maybe someone fictional, but bring to your mind somebody who has had it very easy, where they haven't had to work that hard or struggle that much for anything, and just think about how obnoxious and insufferable that person is. I'm willing to say that about this person you're thinking of that I've never met. These people are usually intensely insufferable and lack any self-awareness. And whenever I find myself wishing that I had things a bit easier, I thank my lucky stars that I am in my position and not in theirs, because if that is where the easy path leads you to, then I'm not going there. I would choose the difficult path every single time if the easy path meant that I ended up like these people. We shouldn't judge. It's not good to judge. But also, these people. These people. So I guess that's kind of reason number two as well. The difficult path is the one that leads you away from being an obnoxious, self-important, insufferable head. Number three, sensationalist media will have us believe that things are incredibly bleak. But when you actually look into it, if you take the time to look into it, things are pretty good. Extreme poverty has fallen. World hunger is falling. Life expectancy is rising. Child mortality rates have more than halved since 1990. The world is more educated than before. Renewable energy sources are more plentiful and cheaper. Good stuff is happening. And it's really worth focusing on this because we live at a time when we are encouraged through various means to be fearful. And I'm not saying that there's nothing to be frightened of in this world, but I am saying that to live your day-to-day life controlled by fear is really bad. It's not a good way to fuel your behaviors and fuel your decisions. Ultimately, you get to choose what it is that you focus on. You get to choose what your attention is directed to. And there is good stuff to direct your attention towards. If you only consume the material that comes to find you, the one that is pushed at you, then you're likely to come away feeling like everything is doomed. And I say this as someone who took a very deliberate break from social media, from the news, from awful things that I am not emotionally equipped to deal with. Things that I would argue that nobody is really emotionally equipped to deal with. And you'll find that once you sort of close down the shutters of all of the stuff that you can't do anything about, you can live a life where you are much more effective at bringing joy and bringing good to the world. There is good stuff happening. It's not as clickbaity as the bad stuff, but it is out there. There are reasons to be optimistic. Number 4, you have the time and the means to watch this video. Now, first of all, let it be stated, I do not believe that you can solve a problem by merely acknowledging that a bigger problem exists. If I stub my toe, it does not help me and my toe to know that you have a friend who got their leg bitten off by a shark. It means nothing to me and you are not helping. But with that said, it is certainly worth giving time to appreciating the things that we can be grateful for. Just having time, spare time, having ears that work, eyes that work, an internet connection, a device that you can watch things on. These are all things to be grateful for, and they seem so insignificant when you are in the, what I call the doomies. When I've got the doomies going on and it feels like, oh, everything's terrible. When you're in that mode there, it's difficult to see those things. You have to seek them out. You have to sit and you think, right, okay, what are the things in this moment that I can be grateful for? Am I safe? Have I got access to clean water? Do I know where my next meal is coming from? Again, it doesn't solve the problem just by acknowledging that people are in worse situations than you, but it does go some way to grounding yourself in the fact that your interpretation of this moment is not necessarily the truth. If you find yourself in a negative spiral, it's useful to find things like footholds, things to hold on to, so that you know that the way you see the world, you've got a filter on that isn't necessarily honest with you. Number 5, remember that it is not the situation itself that disturbs us, but our interpretation of it. Our good friends, the Stoics, who like to slap us in the face with their words, they serve to remind us that sometimes, a situation just is. It is a situation. It's a neutral thing. Things and situations, they can't consistently be defined absolutely and concretely as good or bad. It doesn't work like that. They merely are, and then we put our assumptions on top of it. This thing that's happened is a bad thing. This thing that's happened is a good thing. They are merely things. They are neutrals. Sometimes it is our judgments on a situation that we need to confront rather than the situation itself. And I think this is particularly important in a world of toxic positivity, where if you are feeling bad, you are encouraged to try and lift yourself up and feel good. Sometimes you don't have to feel good. Situations don't always have to make us feel like the world is magical and wonderful at all times. Sometimes you just have to accept that this is the way it is. This is merely a thing. Just like how, I don't get mad at gravity for existing, or, I don't ever find myself wishing that. I can't think of a second example, but there are things that fundamentally cannot be changed. They merely are. And it does no good to put our judgments of goodness and badness on these things. We can't change the situation, perhaps we can change our judgment of it. Number 6, we play an active role in how things play out. And whether you think in terms of energy or manifestation, grandmother Willow's ripples, and you said nipples there, or the butterfly effect, however you want to imagine it, life does not happen to us. It's not put on us. It happens with us and because of us and through us. When it feels like you are being battered, you still have a voice. You still have a role that you play in this storyline. What you do and what you think matters. Life can't corner you without your consent. And it might take a while to build the courage for that to make sense in a way that you can feel, but it is probably the main cause for hope in any situation. If we have our own backs, if we are on our own side, then we have reason for hope because we are an active participant in what is about to unfold. And this is so important because it is incredibly easy to feel helpless in moments when you do not feel like things are going to be okay. So if you were compelled to watch this video because you are feeling like things won't be okay, I hope that went some way to potentially suggesting that it will be okay. It will be okay. And while I don't think it's sensible to bury our heads in the sand, I do think that it serves us to think positively, even when that's really hard. Just do a little name drop. The school that I work in, we recently had Hillary Clinton come to visit us. Hillary Clinton, if you can believe it. I was in a room with Hillary Clinton. I played the piano for Hillary Clinton. What is what? And she was asked in one of her questions what advice she would give to her younger self. And it was a very simple and very beautiful answer, and I think it's very appropriate in this video. The advice she'd give herself is to do what is in front of her to the very best of her ability. And I love that, because I find the self-help world often overly complicates life, which in itself can be quite simple, and there's beauty in its simplicity. And I think that line there, do what is in front of you to the best of your ability, is beautifully simple, because it's not implying that, you should be, swimming in bigger ponds or trying to reach further heights. It's just whatever it is that you have to do it well, and let life do the rest. And it also gives me an opportunity to mention that I played the piano for Hillary Clinton. Did I mention that? Played the piano for Hillary Clinton. So I hope you're all doing very well. I'm sending you lots of love, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.